Happy Monday, and welcome back to the Lorden Arts channel. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here today. Case Cracked is the show where we look into a mystery, and what are the critical pieces that help solve that mystery. Today's episode is called A Life's Journey. The developmental disorder known as autism has a range of symptoms that can vary widely, but most deal with impairments to a person's ability to communicate and interact. There are many programs that work with parents and their children to help them. However, day-to-day activities for some can be a struggle. When you're dealing with a young adult, things can become even more difficult. Connor Jack Oswald had been diagnosed with autism as well as other mental health conditions in 2014 at about the age of 12. In 2019, he was 16 years old and had unfortunately developed a history of running away from home. In May of that year, he had once again run away from his home in Clear Lake, California with his cat because his mother, Suzanne Flint, had taken away his cell phone. While each time he was found and brought home safely, another occurrence in September of 2019 would have a very different outcome. On September 28th, Suzanne had made the family quesadillas for dinner. When she called Connor Jack to come and eat with her and his stepfather, Gerald Flint, they found that Connor Jack was missing once again. Over 2 years later, in April of 2022, residents of Park City, Utah were experiencing the last of winter's cold. It was noticed that a homeless man pushing a shopping cart was making his rounds in Summit Park. Some residents noticed that he had no shelter to go to at night when the temperatures were at their coldest. Each time, the Summit County Sheriff's Office approached the man. He declined their offers of help, though. Because he wasn't breaking the law, they weren't able to bring him into custody, even just to get him out of the freezing cold weather. Officers would then leave him until the next telephone call came from another caring bystander. On April 9th, dispatch received a call saying that this same man had been sighted sleeping outside of Jeremy's store, a convenience store by a gas station near Interstate 80. When officers found the young man, he was sitting, shivering, in a cold that was well below freezing. Body cam footage shows that the officers approached him saying, "You look like you're shivering. You want to come sit in his car and warm up for a minute?" The man agreed and was led to the cruiser where officers began to try to determine who he was. Even though the homeless man refused to give his name, he did allow the officers to scan his fingerprints. The prints belong to a missing man named Connor Jack Oswald, spelled with a D. He had an arrest warrant out of Nevada from that past February. With an active warrant, it was now within their rights to arrest Connor Jack, but officers could tell after talking to him that, quote, the man communicated differently. And according to the sheriff's office, they felt that there was more to this story. Dispatch was then given the job of searching missing persons databases using the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. 16 pages were searched before a Connor Jack Oswalt, spelled with a T, was found. He had disappeared from California about 2.5 years earlier. His parents were contacted and asked if Connor Jack had any birthmarks or identifying marks that could be used to help identify him. Fortunately, he had a birthmark on the back of his neck, and when the man in Utah was checked, he had that same mark. Immediately, Gerald and his father-in-law, Connor Jack's grandfather, drove 225 miles to Summit County, Utah. While Gerald looked through recent photos of the man they found, Suzanne was listening in through his cell phone on speaker. "Is it him?" she asked. Giving a sigh of relief, Gerald replied, "A little bit older, but yeah." "Oh my God, my sweetheart's alive," Suzanne exclaimed as she sobbed with joy. When Connor Jack was asked what he was doing in the 2.5 years since he disappeared, he said he was on a life's journey, but gave no additional details. He now resides in a treatment facility in Utah with an open invitation to come home. Gerald explained, quote, One of our biggest challenges right now, since he's legally an adult, is trying to make sure that we can still look after his safety while obviously respecting his autonomy. We're working on that, but we're not quite there yet. The family would also like to see him get to a point where he's capable of living on his own. They agree that the most important thing right now is keeping him safe and making sure he gets only what's best for him. April is Autism Awareness Month, and last month, the Summit County Sheriff's Office unveiled their new autism safety program. Their website says this program will promote communication and give police quick access to important information about a person who displays a tendency to wander, such as autism, dementia, or other disabilities with similar tendencies. They encourage members of the public to fill out their form and share their experiences with their loved ones who are dealing with these disabilities. The website says, quote, "This program provides information that is critical for law enforcement prior to an officer's arrival at a scene and or prior to contacting an individual with disabilities. Rapid access to information such as their name, birthday, physical description, emergency contact information, known triggers and behaviors, etc., will help officers during their initial response. The Sheriff's Office asks that you share only what you're comfortable providing. Their website will even send out a reminder each year so that new information can be added." Quote, "We've had a lot of false hope over the last 2.5 years, Gerald said. Honestly, I'm still dumbstruck by the whole situation. To find him alive is incredible." Authorities are still trying to figure out how Connor Jack traveled over 700 miles from home to find himself in Park City. They say they'll continue to try to fill in the blanks of Connor Jack's life's journey. Case cracked. I would like to thank CNN.com, 7news.com Australia, the LA Times, sfgate.com, fox13now.com, the Washington Post, and ktvu.com. Of course, the biggest thank you goes to Christy Arnhart for researching and writing up today's case, and here she is now to discuss it with us. Christy, there are two big components in this story, obviously two things that I see that are really important about it: care and empathy.
Oh, yeah. The way the officers handled this was just perfect.
Seriously. I mean, and even before them, you have citizens seeing this guy out there worried that he's freezing in the winter. They act on it to actually reach out to the officers. Then you have the officers go out there and, yeah, if they got to go out and check on him again, they're going to go out and check on him again. There was just this sense of real care and concern right off the bat. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, I know. I mean, they showed empathy and they took time to think about Connor Jack first.
Yeah.
Bringing him in out of the cold and not just processing him, as a standard active warrant situation. That you don't see that as much as you should, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, and even in that, they didn't even get to know that it was an active warrant because, he's not giving his identity. But they're not taking it like he's resisting or giving them trouble. They're just kind of like, okay, we can tell that he's communicating with us differently. And even in that part of the story, there's this really interesting aspect where one of the police officers is like, okay, well, can we at least take your fingerprint? Like he found an entry point. So obviously they were really thinking about that aspect, that this was a different type of person they were dealing with, and they were going to have to change up the normal game plan. It's really, really cool.
It was. I appreciated that so much. And also keeping their body cams on the whole time they're dealing with him. That's the way it should always be.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Yeah. I've kind of wondered about that whole body cam thing, because every now and then you'll hear about a story and it'll be like, oh, the officer didn't turn on their body cam before this interaction. I think all those triggers should be automatic. Like, I think there should be just some little Wi-Fi receiver or something. And as soon as the sirens go on, or as soon as their door opens, that cam just kicks on. And it doesn't turn off until they either get back in the car and their sirens are turned off. Like, some combination of actions where it just makes sense that that camera should be on at that point. I know that, I mean, if you record their whole day, that's going to be a big chunk of data. I get it. But I would rather have that and then not miss out when they need, oh, shoot, we should have the body cams on and we didn't. But also in a case like this where you don't know the person's identity, that footage could be really important at some level too. So yeah, there was a lot of good stuff going on here.
Well, there's always something. I mean, if you're relying on somebody to make these judgments every time, you're going to run into error.
I also really appreciate how they took all these lessons from that interaction and then tried to use them to develop a system to help future cases. That's really, really cool.
It really is. Yeah. The autism safety program that the Summit County Sheriff's Office started on their webpage it's superb. And I wish more people would do something like this. You know, I'm sure we've all heard on the news or, you know, in our own town, sometimes a disability is either not known by officers or disregarded by them. That just can harmfully escalate a situation. And we really need something like this everywhere.
Yeah, I went looking because I wanted to find it. And then I found out later you put the link actually in the sources and I just missed it. But I did find the form. And yeah, just very well written, really good detail. I like that they have that angle that, hey, just tell us as much as you're comfortable with. You know, you don't need to fill out the whole thing. But I also did bump into another resource. So I wanted to share this as well. For any families that may be interested in these types of databases, first of all, we've got the link to Summit County Sheriff's Office program in the links below, but there's another initiative known as Take Me Home, the Take Me Home program. They're trying to be kind of the national version of this, and that information can be accessed by other police departments as well. Only police departments, but in some cases, even directly in their squad cars. So I hope that they're integrating. I'm sure once they find out about it, Summit County is going to integrate their data with that database as well. But, you know, in a case like this, that could be a really important component, right, Christy?
Well, yeah, because I mean, Connor Jack wound up hundreds of miles from home in another state. So yeah, very important.
Yeah. That just being able to have a national version of it that other departments can interact with. Hopefully they do. That's kind of the next thing. Like it's one thing to make a database, but then you have to get everyone aware of it and start using it. We've already heard that story come through in terms of NamUs time and time again. But for your particular area, you can actually search for Take Me Home and then put in either your local state or your town name. Some of them are even that localized. And if you've got one in your area, you should be able to find it like that. You can also visit autism-society.org. And because they're helping with that awesome initiative, we've made a donation to them today in honor of Connor Jack's story. We hope that it helps fund future efforts like this. Christy, thank you so much for all the help on today's episode. We really appreciate you. I've got some other people to thank right now. Thank you, PayPal supporters Amanda Beard, Jennifer Wilson, and Hillary Green. For over 6 years, we've always run limited commercial ads here on YouTube, and we can't do that without support. If you'd like to help the channel keep going and growing, please visit lordandarts.com. There, you can sign up for Patreon, sign up for PayPal, buy merchandise, or even just buy us a coffee like Misty Kate recently did. We know that learning about the mechanisms that help support and find justice in these cases is important to understand the many unsolved cases we also cover, and we really appreciate your support in allowing us to continue doing that. Remember, you can get another Lord and Art story every week on the Seriously Mysterious podcast. A new episode is coming tomorrow and every Tuesday after that. Visit seriouslymysterious.com and subscribe on your favorite podcatchers. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon below if you want to catch one of our weekly Secret Studio live shows. And of course, I'll be back with a new unsolved mystery for you on Friday, right here on the Lord and Arts channel.